Hey, we're live. All right, beautiful. Okay, this is going to be our Lions Tap example. So here's what I need from people. What I want you to visualize right now is that you're at Lions Tap and you're in the back kitchen of Lions Tap. We're going to talk about the relationship between marginal product and marginal cost. You have to visualize in the back of the kitchen of Lions Tap there are going to be, we'll say there are going to be 3 stations. Okay, 3 stations that you really have. There are like 3 different spots for people to work. Okay? Pretty simple. 3 different spots for people to work. And so what I need is I'm going to hire people. Alright, so Daryl, you're my first employee. Come on down. Okay? And I'm going to pay you, holy Hannah, I'm going to pay you $500. Okay? Come on over. And you're going to work at this station right here. Okay? You're going to work at a station, and then you've been working, and I want to congratulate you because you've doing such a great job. And you have done such, do you like gummies? Kind of gummy lifesavers. You have done such a great job that you made 1 product. Now, don't eat that yet, okay? You made 1 product. Now, good for you, right? But now I'm going to hire someone else. Nick, come on down. I'm going to hire Nick, and I'm going to pay Nick the same amount. I'm going to pay him $500. And Nick, I'm going to pay you $500. Here we go. And you're going to work at Station 2, which is right there. Okay, Station 2, which is right there. Now, when I hire Nick, what's going to happen? Should we probably have an increase in our overall product that we have? Okay, we probably should. Because we had 3 stations. And now, I'm going to have you step aside for a second here. What is Daryl going to have to do when someone places an order? What are you going to have to do? Because you have 3 different spots that you need to cover, right? And you're going to have to cover this spot, and then this spot, and then this spot. And it's really hard for her to do that. She's limited in the amount that she can do. But now I hired Nick, very qualified. They're actually the same exact kind of employee. And Nick is going to be at Station 2. And we have 3 different stations here that we're covering. So we assume because I hired Nick, not because he's so talented, just because of the fact that I hired Nick and I have now 2 employees to cover 3 stations. You would assume that we would be more efficient, correct? You would assume that, right? So now we're going to assume that you have produced an additional 2 products. Hence the 2 lifesavers there, right? Okay, good. So now we have, I want to hire, because I still have one open station here, okay? Liz, come on down. Okay? Liz, come on down. 1, 2, 3, 4, $500. Come on down, Foxjet. Okay? And you're going to be at Station 3. Okay, Station 3, Liz. And we would assume now, would you assume that our overall product will go up again? Okay, we'd assume so because we have now 1 person for each station. So when I call an order in, each of you has your own task. And if you think back to Unit 1, what is that called when everyone has their own thing that they're doing? We're specializing, right? Congratulations. You have now made, and we've made an additional 3 things. So what's our overall product right now? We have 3 and 2 and 1, so we have 6 products that we've made. Okay? Which we need 3 people. Pretty sad. They're not going to make a lot of business. But now, I think that, wow, this was great. I'm going to bring in, I'm just going to keep hiring people, okay? Right? So, Nate, come on down. And I'm going to pay Nate the same as I'm paying these people. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's $500. And why don't you find a spot to work there? Okay? Now, and we're working, and they're working, and you're flipping the burgers, and you're getting the fries out. What's going to happen to my overall product? It probably will still go up, I would assume. What role is Nate going to play in this?
Supervise.
Okay, he's going to supervise. Okay, great. Is he going to do much to help my overall output? Maybe not. So let's say that let's say that Daryl's been here for so long, she got tired. Go relieve Daryl. Okay? And so then Daryl comes out, then she takes a break. Well, because they're able to go back and forth and kind of share the load, we had an increase in overall product of 2 things. So there you go. So there's your 2 products that you overall, so our overall product went up by 2, right? So Ben, come on down. Here we go. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we have a small kitchen. Here you are, sir. And now, how is Ben going to do in the back here?
He's going to watch.
He's going to watch. And what good is he going to be? Don't take this personally. What good is he going to be? No. He's not going to be very much help, is he? But he probably is going to do enough to relieve 2 people at one time, and he's going to look over and say, oh, you want to flip that right now? He's going to help out a little bit. And so with his overall work, okay, he's going to earn, how many did you get? 2. You're going to get 1. Okay? You're gonna get 1. So you helped us bring our overall product up by 1, which is great. Okay? The problem is that, what's the problem with him only helping us make one more thing? How much did I pay him? And how much did you produce? 3, right? And how much did I pay you? $500, right? And so we had 1, 2, 3. Each time I hired these 3 people, the amount of product I had went up. Why did it go up? Why did the product go up each time I hired these 3 people? Because you were each able to specialize, right? You were each able to specialize and do your own job. Because I had 3 stations, I hired 3 people. So each time I hired these first 3 people, the amount of the marginal product that I had, that each of these were giving me, it increased. Why did it go down as I hired Nathan, as I hired Ben? Why did it go down?
You only had 3 stations.
I only had 3 stations. So were you able to be as efficient? No, we were now more inefficient. Okay, so now what we're going to talk about. So now you just proved what happens in a business. What happens to marginal product in a business? And we're going to map this out here on the board. And what happens to marginal product as you start hiring more inputs. And so we're going to try to put that into, you guys can eat those and leave me the money if you wish. If you don't want those, you can toss those jelly things. Those deals, okay? So remember, and I'm going to ask you guys the questions of how much you each had in a second here, okay? All right, so here's our data. Here's our data that we have. The data is, we'll say quantity of our inputs. And we had 1, 2, 3, 4. I hired 5 people, right? I hired 5 people. And the total product that they gave me, this person, we had 1, and we had 3, and then we had 6, and then we had 8, and then we had 9. I think that's correct. And then our marginal product that we had was, remember, as I mentioned yesterday, you always go in between for marginal. The marginal product was, well, going for the first one, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so as you employ more inputs in the very beginning, so if we go out here and say in the beginning, I'm going to write my own book. Okay, in the beginning, right? What happens to marginal product? What happens to marginal product in the very beginning when you start off employing people? Okay, and why does it increase? Why does it increase? Okay, good. Marginal product increases as you become more efficient. Right? You move towards specialization. You move towards specialization. Here's the key things. Efficiency and specialization. Right? And so then we can say what happens. So what happens to MP, let's say, I'll say after specialization. After specialization, what happens to marginal product then? David, what happens to marginal product after specialization? Why does it decrease?
You have less efficiency.
Okay, we have less efficiency, and why do we have less efficiency?
You have more people doing jobs they shouldn't be doing.
Okay, so we have inputs. Maybe inputs are not actively involved in the production. And they're not being efficient. And so we see what happens to MP. How would you graph that? How would you graph MP? Look at how this starts. MP does this. Correct? That's how MP would be. Now, the next step is we have to figure out what happens to marginal cost as we hire these people here. Okay? So what happens to marginal cost? I am going to have we're going to have an amount here of, we'll say my marginal cost column here. How much did I pay? Daryl, I hired you, right? First, okay. I hired you first, and we're going to find out the marginal cost of hiring Daryl. So what would be the marginal cost? You look at how much the total cost is, right? And you divide it by, what do you divide it by? The quantity, right? So I gave you $500, and we divide it by, how much did you give me? You produced 1. Good for you. Okay? You produced 1. So there was a marginal cost to hire Daryl of $500. Right? So now I hired a second person. Nick, did I hire you secondly? Okay? And so we hired Nick, and I paid Nick $500. And because Nick was able to specialize more, he was able to give me an additional 2, correct? And so Nick, the marginal cost for me to hire Nick was $250. Why was the marginal cost to hire Nick less than it was for Daryl? Because he produced more products for the same amount of dollars. Okay, so we had $500, and you were able to produce more for me, right? And so now we go down the line here, and we say we get to 3, and I have absolutely no idea what that is. What number is that? 166. Okay, good. 166 and 67 cents, something like that, right? Okay. And so now we have $500, and so as you see here, what's happened to the marginal cost? And you can do the same thing that we did over here, and we can get rid of this. In the beginning, what happens to marginal cost? Okay, marginal cost decreases. Why does marginal cost decrease in the beginning? Why does marginal cost decrease? So when I hire people, why is it that when the very first few people I hire, the cost to me as a business gets less and less and less? Peter?
Because marginal product increases.
What's that?
Because marginal product increases.
Okay, marginal cost decreases. Maybe since each input generates greater MP. You're able to produce more for me for the same dollar. You produced more for the same amount of money. And so the marginal cost, I want to know what the marginal cost is of producing something. Well, the marginal cost, not really of employing. I'm not talking about the marginal cost of employing Nick and Nate and Daryl and Liz and Ben. I'm talking about the marginal cost of producing that good. That's what this marginal cost is, okay? It's the marginal cost of producing that good. And so I'm able to produce more for the same amount of money. But then what happens is once you get to specialization, now we go backwards again. Right? We go backwards again, so this is my marginal cost, is really that column right there. And then when we hire this person over here, it ends up being $500. So why does, besides the fact that they are producing less, why is it, what does it tell me about what happens to marginal cost after specialization? Why is it that marginal cost will now increase? Here it's decreasing, here it's going to increase. After specialization, what happens? Why does that happen? Think about why they were produced. Think about what was going on here. Why were they producing less?
Because your extra workers are become redundant. You already had someone else doing that job, so they didn't really have anything to do.
Okay, so in order for me to produce this 8th and 9th good, what was I doing? What was true about my inputs? They're less efficient, right? And so each time I wanted to keep making things. Now, if I would have hired one more person, that may have happened. That my total product actually went down. Because it gets to a certain point that when you start throwing too many resources at it, think about the non-adaptable resources as what goes on here after specialization. You are employing more inefficient and maybe non-adaptable inputs. And if you do that, it's going to cause you have to put more and more resources since they are inefficient, since they are non-adaptable. Okay? Since that's the case, it takes more and more inputs in order for me to keep increasing my bottom line, because they're really inefficient. And so when you look at a business, when you look at Caribou Coffee, when you look at Lions Tap, you look at any place, when they first hire people, their marginal product goes up right away. But after specialization, they figure out that, okay, I have one person on the floor, one person at the till, and maybe one person in each different department, one person on the till, one person in the stock room. And then beyond that, if I start hiring more and more people, the marginal cost to me for each of those, for what they sell, is gonna go up and up and up. Because you're not giving me as much. And so that's the whole theory behind marginal product and marginal cost. And we'll go through and we'll look at some of these different things, and we'll look at some examples of these. I have no idea if that was still working. Okay.